Heck yeah. Oh, I'm going camping with my family this week, and
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome.
I'm definitely pumped up, but I'm a little like, oh, did I remember to pack my
Water?
Dramamine? I
Yeah.
actually
It's
literally
gonna be hot.
I went to the REI website and said, what do I need for camping?
They'll do it for you though. That's a good way to go.
I can stress out about anything.
Yeah. Well, camping's supposed to be very relaxing, but there's a lot of elements about it that are not as relaxing as like being at home.
You could forget the celery salt for your for your Bloody Marys. Hi and welcome to the show. This is Seattle's #1 comic book podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to the first issue of your next favorite comic. I'm Larry.
And he's with James, right? Me.
That's right. Hey James, what's our show about? What do we do here?
I would say that like if you're somebody who's looking for like your next favorite comic, like you're not looking for like another comic to read. You're looking for like, I want to replace my favorite comic with a new one, jump into first place. All right.
Yeah.
Then you go, what's the podcast for me? Seattle's #1 comic book podcast. We're here for you.
We are here for you. That was a good explanation.
It's not going to happen every time, admittedly, but it happens. Like I make a list of my favorites, and it's surprisingly frequently I get a new #1.
And I'm excited. This is our 67th episode. Pretty big news. And this could be your next favorite comic, Dark Tower, the Gunslinger.
I think it's probably somewhat likely, considering there seems to be a lot of. I've heard of this comic before,
right?
You know,
and if it was your favorite comic, you're in luck because this is an ongoing, still coming out.
I didn't even think about that.
A little irregular once in a while comic book coming out, so they do these big chunks
just to pull at your heartstrings.
Yeah, but there's plenty of issues out there. There's 75 issues of Dark Tower, the Gunslinger.
And isn't there also like books?
Oh, there's also novels and a new movie. Thank you, James, for turning me on to that trailer. Oh my God.
It looks kind of crazy. Well, at the very least, it has Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba. Elba?
Yeah, I think that's how you say it. I love that guy, dude. I was just like, oh my gosh, those like flying bullets and like the shot that he takes through like miles away. Like I shoot with my heart.
No, it was like, wow, that's like in this first issue we talk about, that is very well represented in this beginning. But before we get to that, Larry, lay us down some recent indecents if you have any.
You bet, I do.
Waiting to hear it. That's how we start at the beginning, with some recent indecents.
So this week, actually this came out 2 weeks ago, and I saw it come up on Comixology. On Comixology. Every week I look at the...
Larry has to go through all the places where he looks in his mind for comic books each week.
I look at previews, and then I fold down all the pages in the previews. There's a lot of pages folded down in my previews catalog, which comes out every month. And then,
I believe it.
And then
believe it or not, guest. There's Larry. Larry has a long list of comics every week.
And then I saw that this came out on Comixology, but I could just...
You gotta go through like the latest releases on that page, right?
Exactly. And I could sense that this was going to be better in physical form. And I was not wrong. This is written by one Eric Craig and also drawn by Eric Craig. And you could file this under the genre crime, drama, literature, music.
Music? Does it have a soundtrack?
It's called...
That would be cool.
It's called, and I can't stop you from singing here, James. It's called In the Pines.
In the Pines. I don't know that song.
Oh, it's a murder ballad made famous by Muddy Waters, but done by
Oh,
everybody from Pete Seeger to Nirvana.
I
And
can't think of how it goes.
in the pines, where the sun never shines, and I shivered the whole night through. Anyhow, it's in the
How do I not
pines.
know that song? That's crazy.
It's five
That's
murder
blowing me
ballads.
away.
It's five murder ballads set
Oh, wow. That's a great premise.
set to graphic novel form, and each
I'm writing it
one
down.
is very reminiscent of the Parker series with a different color scheme for each story.
Oh, that's so sweet. That was like one of my favorite art. That might have been my favorite art comic book last year.
Now, Eric's got a loose hand.
That
So
doesn't sound like what I like as much.
Yeah, so you're not going to see a lot of like real detail. It works. It works. The storytelling really, the panel to panel works story to story. It looks really nice. It smells delicious because it's real ink. It's I didn't mention that it is from Fantagraphics. And yeah, it was a great five little vignettes of these murder ballads set to music, and one of my favorites is The Long Black Veil. And if you've
So
ever
how long is it?
I think it's like 162 pages. I don't have it in front of me. No, it's 100.
Okay.
I did write that down. It's 138 pages.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Thick, toothy paper. I'm super glad I bought it in physical form. I got it up there at the Arcane Comics in the shadow of the Space Needle, Shoreline, Washington. Steps away from
Larry's third source of information about new comic books to get in the week.
Oh yeah, those guys helped me out. It was great. I read it in one sitting. And that's that's saying a lot for somebody with like a short attention span like me. 138 pages, one sitting. That's a lot. So I loved it. It's called In the Pines, 5 Murder Ballads. It's from Eric Krigg, and it was published by Fantagraphics.
Fantagraphics.
In the Pines, in the Pines.
I'm blown away that I don't know this song.
I have a funny story.
Okay.
This might be a little off color, but
I'm ready for it. I'm interested.
I was working with one of my coworkers, and he was new to the company, and we were listening to the radio. Or no, we were listening to one of my playlists, and I happened to have that song by Pete Seeger. In the pines, in the pines. And there's a line in there.
You don't mean Bob Seger, do you?
No, Pete Seeger.
I'm just kidding.
The old banjo player. 97 years old when he passed away.
Wow.
And anyhow, there's a line that's kind of off color, and it's a loud job site, and this new hire at the shop at the time, Vern, shout out to Vern, he listens to the show. I hope he listens to this one. He says, "This is your mama's song." And I said, "What?" I said, "Hold on, Vern. You don't know me. And I know you don't know my mom." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "My mama?" And he's like, "No, it's from Nirvana."
That's a good one.
So yeah, Nirvana covered that song as well. So let's jump into Stephen King's The Dark Tower, The Gunslinger. This was written by Robin Firth, Peter David, and with art by Sean Phillips and Richard Azanave. And I'm going to talk a lot about that guy because, oh my word. Came out in 2007. I know yours is going to say 2011. And I think this issue might have been 2011, and we're going to have to kind of backpedal here a little bit because, what? Dark Tower, The Gunslinger The Journey Begins is not a number 1. It's one of 5.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that.
Once I got onto Wikipedia, I realized that we're actually 25 issues into this series.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure how that correlated with the books. I didn't look into it at all. So there's no way I could have known that. But I figured because there's so many novels, and it seemed... Actually, my first question was, this writer guy, isn't it adapted by? Did he actually like come up with this completely originally, or?
I think that this is his own take on characters from Stephen King's original Dark Tower series.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I gathered from the Wikipedia page.
Oh, because I thought maybe like the Gunslinger was its own book, because I had no source of information to prove me otherwise.
Oh, no, the Gunslinger is its own book.
Oh, okay. So it's like the first page or first chapter in a book.
Exactly.
I think that counts.
Yeah.
I'll stretch the definition for us.
No rules here.
Yeah, breaking the law.
So what did you get from this?
Okay, so I'd say this book's biggest strength and its biggest weakness is it's a lot of narrator. What do you think about that, Larry?
I get that. I get that because you do see a lot of inner monologue before you see word bubbles.
Yeah, and even within it's probably more than half of the words you read, like half that and half dialogue, all the way through. So not even including like the first quite a few pages that are just narrator.
Right. I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
No, I was gonna say, but what do you think about like how the narrator talked?
I thought it was a little too ambiguous. You're like, what is he talking about? What? Get to the point. He's not narrowing down anything. He's just. I mean, you get a broad stroke.
Yeah, it's very like poetic for sure.
But the broad stroke is one man is following another man in order to eradicate that man to save a world.
Yeah, it's very, very vague.
But
if you are into poetic like narration, it's good for that. The only thing, like I kept trying to read it in like different accents, like I'd do like a slow Native American or like a Japanese guy, and it worked really well for like the slow poetic pacing. But then there were like weird like slang terms in there that I couldn't really, didn't really mesh with any narrator I'd ever heard before. So I don't know. That was just like my main thing that I took away.
It bobbles a little bit in the poetic writing. It does do that. But what really like it really does feel, and this is what I was kind of like, oh, it's like this one showed up as a number 1, so we took it on as a number 1, and I've read most of this series, so I was kind of like, oh, as soon as we talked about it on the show, as soon as I picked it for the, I should have did a little more due diligence and got us back to the original Dark series number 1.
But this did seem like a number 1 just with like the amount and type of narration that was going on. Like it did seem like it was the premise of a beginning new thing.
You didn't feel like you were coming in the middle of a story? I felt like, the journey begins. I felt like I was coming into a new world, just like through the eyes of this character who's just beginning. Okay, I felt like he's been on this journey. I know that it says the journey has just begun, but I feel like he's been on this journey already.
I thought the journey had just begun.
Because, I mean, our Gunslinger, what a cool character.
So it seems interesting that we both have these different perspectives coming in from different perspectives. Well, because me coming in thinking it was the beginning felt like a beginning. But you coming in knowing there was a backstory